There are people who move through life like stone statues in the rain, silent, solid, unshaken. You never hear them complain. You never see them asking for help. They walk with quiet dignity no matter how heavy the storm inside. To the world they seem strong, almost unbreakable. But behind that calm, there was a truth most people never see. There's a whole psychology hiding in their silence, the psychology of people who never ask for help. We look at them with admiration. We call them tough, brave, independent. But what if that strength you see is actually their shield? What if their silence isn't confidence but survival? Somewhere in their past, these people learned that asking for help doesn't always bring comfort. Maybe they reached out once, and no one came. Maybe they cried and were told to stop being weak. Maybe they needed love, but got judgment instead. So they made a promise to themselves, never again will I need anyone. Never again will I depend. And over time, that promise became their way of living. You see, when trust breaks early, the heart builds walls instead of bridges. Each disappointment adds another brick. Every ignored cry adds another layer. Until one day they stop asking, they stop expecting, they stop believing that help even exists. Psychology calls this a self-protective mechanism, a way the mind saves itself from pain by choosing silence over rejection. It's not that they don't want help, it's that they no longer trust it. These people often become the helpers. They're the ones everyone turns to when life gets messy. They're the fixers, the listeners, the strong shoulders. They know how to carry others' pain because they've carried their own in silence for years. They say things like, "I'm fine, and it's okay, I'll handle it," even when their world is falling apart. They believe they have no right to collapse because others depend on them. Their strength becomes their identity, their silence their reputation. But strength, when it never rests, becomes a cage. They may smile and laugh, they may appear calm, but inside they are tired. Deeply, quietly tired. Not just tired of problems, but tired of always being the one who must be okay. Psychology shows that people who never ask for help often struggle with fear of vulnerability. They've learned that showing emotion invites pain, that weakness equals danger, so they armor themselves in competence. They keep busy, they stay helpful, they avoid talking about themselves. Vulnerability feels like standing naked in a storm, and they'd rather freeze than risk exposure. Yet inside that fear, there's another layer, a belief that love must be earned through strength. Many of them grew up being praised for being mature for their age, responsible, independent. They learned early that being strong makes people love you, that being needy pushes them away. So they spend their lives performing strength, believing that the moment they ask for help, they'll lose respect, affection, or trust. They don't realize that love doesn't come from being unbreakable. It comes from being real. If you've ever known someone like this, you've seen it. The friend who jokes when he's sad, the coworker who handles everyone's workload but never complains, the family member who says, "I'm good," even when their eyes say otherwise. They've mastered the art of emotional camouflage. Their silence is a language, and every time they say "I'm fine," what they really mean is, "Please notice I'm not." But the world rarely listens to quiet pain. Over time, they begin to believe that their emotions don't matter, that asking for help would only make things worse, so they push harder, give more, help others, and neglect themselves. It looks like selflessness, but often it's a hidden plea for worth, a hope that by being useful, they'll feel needed, and by being needed, they'll feel seen. But it's a lonely kind of love, because no matter how much they give, no one gives back in the same way. And when they finally reach their breaking point, people are shocked. They say, "I never knew he was struggling." Of course not. He trained everyone to believe he was unshakable. There's a strange paradox here. The strongest helpers often suffer the most in silence. They understand pain deeply, which is why they ease it in others. They think if they can heal someone else, maybe they can forget their own wounds. But pain doesn't vanish that way. It hides, waiting for a moment of stillness to resurface. And when it does, it's heavier than before. The truth is, being strong all the time isn't strength. It's exhaustion disguised as bravery. When you never ask for help, you become invisible in your own story. You become the one everyone leans on, but no one holds. The one who fixes others, but can't fix himself. The one who carries so much that he forgets how to rest. If this sounds familiar, if you're one of those people who never ask for help, you need to hear this. You're not weak for wanting support. You're not broken for feeling tired. You've simply been strong for too long. But strength isn't only about holding on. Sometimes it's about letting go. The moment you allow yourself to be human, to say, "I can't do this alone," you don't lose power. You gain peace. Because real strength is not about how much you can carry. It's about knowing when to set it down. Let's go deeper into what keeps people from reaching out. The mind has a strange way of protecting itself. It confuses independence with isolation. You start thinking, "If I've handled it alone before, I should handle it again." But that mindset traps you in a loop of silent suffering. Each time you deal with pain alone, your brain rewards you for survival. It says, "See? You didn't need anyone." That reward becomes addictive. You start to equate loneliness with control, and before long, solitude becomes your comfort zone. Then there's pride, not arrogance, but wounded pride. The kind that says, "I've come this far without help. I can't start now." It's the voice of a scar, not of strength, because underneath that pride is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of disappointment, fear that people won't understand. So instead of risking those emotions, you build walls and call them boundaries. You stay quiet even when you're drowning, and society feeds this silence. We glorify self-reliance. We celebrate the self-made man, the independent woman, the lone wolf. We tell people to be strong, don't cry, handle it. Especially men. They grow up hearing that emotions are weakness. Be tough, they're told. Don't show fear. So they hide their feelings behind work, humor, or anger. They stop talking about pain because they've learned that pain isn't masculine. But the truth is, silence doesn't make you strong. It makes you invisible. That's why some of the calmest faces you know are hiding the loudest battles. They've simply learned to fight them quietly. But imagine, just for a moment, if that person decided to ask for help, not as surrender, but as liberation. That moment changes everything. When someone finally says, "I need help," something powerful happens inside the brain. Psychology calls it emotional rewiring. It begins to repair the broken circuits of trust, teaching the mind that vulnerability doesn't always lead to pain. The nervous system relaxes, the heart opens, and for the first time in years, they breathe freely. Asking for help isn't giving up. It's stepping back into being human. No one is meant to carry life alone. We are wired for connection. It's in our biology. The same parts of the brain that process pain also process social rejection, which means loneliness physically hurts. That's why isolation feels heavy. The brain reads it as injury. But the moment you reach out, even slightly, your body begins to heal. The chemistry shifts. The mind feels safer. The irony, though, is that the people who never ask for help are often the first to give it. They understand suffering so intimately that they can sense it in others. They rush to help, to comfort, to protect. But they forget that they too deserve that same care. They keep pouring from an empty cup until there's nothing left. It's a silent burnout masked by generosity. But you cannot save the world while ignoring your own wounds. Even the strongest warriors need to rest. Even healers need to be held. Even protectors need protection. The first step is not shouting for help. It's whispering truth to yourself, saying, "I'm tired," saying, "This is too much." That tiny moment of honesty is where healing begins. Because when you stop lying to yourself about being okay, you give your soul permission to breathe again. You open a small door where light can enter, and then something beautiful happens. You realize that people don't love you for your strength. They love you for your truth. They don't connect to your perfection. They connect to your humanity. The cracks in your armor are not flaws. They are openings where real relationships grow. So if you're listening to this and something inside you feels seen, maybe it's time. Time to stop pretending you have it all figured out. Time to stop being the quiet hero who saves everyone but himself. You don't have to carry it all anymore. Asking for help doesn't erase your strength. It expands it. It takes more courage to say, "I need you," than to say, "I'm fine." The psychology behind people who never ask for help isn't about weakness or pride. It's about stories, scars, and survival. It's about little versions of us who once asked and were ignored, so they stopped asking altogether. But life isn't meant to be walked alone. Every bridge can be rebuilt. Every silence can find a voice again. You deserve to be understood, not just admired. So when the next storm comes, and it will, don't hide under your own weight. Reach out, speak. Let someone see the real you, the one behind the calm, behind the "I'm fine." Because the moment you let someone in, you don't fall. You rise. You rise lighter, freer, stronger in a new way. And maybe, just maybe, one day you'll realize that the bravest thing you ever did wasn't staying silent in your pain. It was finally saying, "I need help." At the end of the day, the story of people who never ask for help is not a story of weakness. It's a story of resilience, of quiet battles fought in the dark, of hearts that learned to stand alone when no one stood beside them. It's the story of those who became their own comfort, their own guide, their own healer. They survived not because life was kind, but because they refused to break. But survival is not the same as peace, and that's where this journey must lead, from surviving alone to living connected. The truth is, no one wins life by isolation. Even the strongest need to lean sometimes. Even the most capable need to rest. The psychology behind asking for help isn't about dependence, it's about balance. It's about understanding that strength and softness are not enemies, they are partners. When you reach out, you don't lose power. You share it. You create space where someone else can be strong for you, even if just for a moment. And that moment can change everything. Maybe you've spent years convincing yourself you don't need anyone. You've told yourself, "I'll be fine," so many times that it became your identity. But here's the secret. You are never meant to carry the world alone. Every human heart needs connection, like lungs need air. We are built for each other. Asking for help isn't surrender. It's breathing. It's saying, I deserve care too. It's allowing someone to show you that love doesn't have to hurt, that trust can be safe again. Psychology teaches us that healing begins when we break the silence. The moment you share your truth, your nervous system relaxes. The weight on your chest lightens. The loneliness begins to fade. Because when someone listens, truly listens, your pain finds a home outside your body. It stops echoing inside your mind. That's not weakness, that's freedom. So if you've been walking through life with a quiet storm in your chest, pretending you're fine, let this be the sign you've been waiting for. You don't have to keep proving your strength. You've already done that. You've survived. Now it's time to live. Openly, honestly, gently. It's time to let others in, to give yourself the same compassion you've always given to everyone else. One day you'll look back and realize that asking for help didn't make you smaller. It made you human. It made you whole. Because true courage isn't found in standing alone. It's found in reaching out a trembling hand and saying, I can't do this by myself anymore. That single moment can rewrite a lifetime of silence. And when you finally allow someone to walk beside you, you'll see that life was never meant to be a solo journey. The strength you once guarded will turn into peace. The walls you built will become bridges, and the silence that once protected you will turn into connection, warmth, and light. Because in the end, the bravest souls are not the ones who never ask for help. They are the ones who finally do.